Item 432. Riprap. 1. Description. Furnish and place concrete, stone, cement stabilized, or special riprap. 2. Materials. Furnish materials in accordance with the following items. Item 420, concrete substructures. Item 421, hydraulic cement concrete. Item 431, pneumatically placed concrete. Item 440, reinforcement for concrete, and DMS 6200, filter fabric. 2.1 Concrete riprap. Use Class B concrete unless otherwise shown on the plans. 2.2 Pneumatically placed concrete riprap. Use Class 1I concrete that meets Item 431, pneumatically placed concrete, unless otherwise shown on the plans. 2.3 Stone riprap. Use durable natural stone with a bulk specific gravity of at least 2.50 as determined by TxDOT 403A unless otherwise shown on the plans. Provide stone that, when tested in accordance with TxDOT 411A, has weight loss of no more than 18% after 5 cycles of magnesium sulfate solution. Perform a size verification test on the first 5,000 square yard of finished riprap stone for all types of stone riprap at a location determined by the engineer. Test the riprap stone in accordance with ASTM D5519. Additional tests may be required. Do not place additional riprap until the initial 5,000 square yard of riprap has been approved. Provide grout or mortar in accordance with Item 421, hydraulic cement concrete, when specified. Provide grout with a consistency that will flow into and fill all voids. Provide filter fabric in accordance with DMS 6200, filter fabric. Provide Type 2 filter fabric for protection stone riprap unless otherwise shown on the plans. Provide Type 2 filter fabric for Type R, F, or common stone riprap when shown on the plans. 2.3.1 Type R. Use stones between 50 and 250 pounds with at least 50% of the stones heavier than 100 pounds. 2.3.2 Type F. Use stones between 50 and 250 pounds with at least 40% of the stones heavier than 100 pounds. Use stones with at least one broad flat surface. 2.3.3 Common. Use stones between 50 and 250 pounds. Use stones that are at least 3 inches in their least dimension. Use stones that are at least twice as wide as they are thick. When shown on the plans or approved, material may consist of broken concrete removed under the contract or from other approved sources. Cut exposed reinforcement flush with all surfaces before placement of each piece of broken concrete. 2.3.4 Protection. Use boulders or quarried rock that meets the gradation requirements of Table 1. Both the width and the thickness of each piece of riprap must be at least 1/3 of the length. When shown on the plans or as approved, material may consist of broken concrete removed under the contract or from other approved sources. Cut exposed reinforcement flush with all surfaces before placement of each piece of broken concrete. Determine gradation of the finished, in place, riprap stone under the direct supervision of the engineer in accordance with ASTM D5519. Table 1. In-place protection riprap gradation requirements. See table in specifications. 1. Defined as that size such that 10% of the total riprap stone, by weight, is larger and 90% is smaller. 2. Defined as that size such that 50% of the total riprap stone, by weight, is larger and 50% is smaller. 3. Defined as that size such that 92% of the total riprap stone, by weight, is larger and 8% is smaller. The engineer may require in-place verification of the stone size. Determine the in-place size of the riprap stone by taking linear transects along the riprap and measuring the intermediate axis of the stone at select intervals. Place a tape measure along the riprap and determine the intermediate axis size of the stone at 2 feet intervals. Measure a minimum of 100 stones, either in a single transect or in multiple transects, Then follow ASTM D5519 test procedure Part B to determine the gradation. Table 2 is a guide for comparing the stone size in inches to the stone weight shown in Table 1. Table 2. Protection Riprap stone size. See table in specifications. 1. Based on a specific gravity of 2.5 and using the following equation for the intermediate axis diameter D equals 12 times W over GS times 62.4 times 0.85 to the 1/3 power, where D equals intermediate axis diameter in inches, W equals weight of stone in pounds, GS equals specific gravity of stone. Note, if the specific gravity of the stone is different than 2.5, then the above equation can be used to determine the appropriate size using the actual specific gravity. If required, provide bedding stone that, in place, meets the gradation requirements shown in Table 3 or as otherwise shown on the plans. Determine the size distribution in Table 3 in accordance with ASTM D6913. Table 3. Protection Riprap bedding material gradation requirements. Sieve size, square mesh, and percent by weight passing. Sieve size 3 inches with 100% by weight passing. Sieve size 1.5 inches with 50 to 80% by weight passing. Sieve size 3/4 inches with 20 to 60% by weight passing. Sieve size number 4 with 0 to 15% by weight passing. Sieve size number 10 with 0 to 5% by weight passing. 2.4 Cement stabilized riprap. Provide aggregate that meets item 247, flexible base, for the type and grade shown on the plans. Use cement stabilized riprap with 7% hydraulic cement by dry weight of the aggregate. 2.5 Special riprap. Furnish materials for special riprap according to the plans. 3. Construction. Dress slopes and protected areas to the line and grade shown on the plans before the placement of riprap. Place riprap and toe walls according to details and dimensions shown on the plans or as directed. 3.1 Concrete riprap. Reinforce concrete riprap with 6x6, W 2.9 x W 2.9 welded wire fabric or with number 3 or number 4 reinforcing bars spaced at a maximum of 18 inches in each direction unless otherwise shown. Alternative styles of welded wire fabric that provide at least 0.058 square inches of steel per foot in both directions may be used if approved. A combination of welded wire fabric and reinforcing bars may be provided when both are permitted. Provide a minimum 6 inches lap at all splices. Provide horizontal cover of at least 1 inches and no more than 3 inches at the edge of the riprap. Place the first parallel bar no more than 6 inches from the edge of concrete. Use approved supports to hold the reinforcement approximately equidistant from the top and bottom surface of the slab. Adjust reinforcement during concrete placement to maintain correct position. Sprinkle and consolidate the subgrade before the concrete is placed as directed. All surfaces must be moist when concrete is placed. Compact and shape the concrete once it has been placed to conform to the dimensions shown on the plans. Finish the surface with a wood float after it has set sufficiently to avoid slumping to secure a smooth surface or broom finish as approved. Cure the riprap immediately after the finishing operation according to item 420, concrete substructures. 3.2 Stone riprap. Provide the following types of stone riprap when shown on the plans. Dry riprap. Stone riprap with voids filled with only spalls or small stones. Grouted riprap. Type R, F, or common stone riprap with voids grouted after all the stones are in place. Mortared riprap. Type F stone riprap laid and mortared as each stone is placed. Use spalls and small stones lighter than 25 pounds to fill open joints and voids in stone riprap, and place to a tight fit. Place mortar or grout only when the air temperature is above 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Protect work from rapid drying for at least 3 days after placement. Place filter fabric with the length running up and down the slope unless otherwise approved. Ensure fabric has a minimum overlap of 2 feet. Secure fabric with nails or pins. Use nails at least 2 inches long with washers or U-shaped pins with legs at least 9 inches long. Space nails or pins at a maximum of 10 feet in each direction and 5 feet along the seams. Alternative anchorage and spacing may be used when approved. 3.2.1 Type R. Construct riprap as shown in Figure 1 on the stone riprap standard and as shown on the plans. Place stones in a single layer with close joints so most of their weight is carried by the earth and not the adjacent stones. Place the upright axis of the stones at an angle of approximately 90 degrees to the embankment slope. Place each course from the bottom of the embankment upward with the larger stones in the lower courses. Fill open joints between stones with spalls. Place stones to create a uniform finished top surface. Do not exceed a 6 inches variation between the tops of adjacent stones. Replace, embed deeper, or chip away stones that project more than the allowable amount above the finished surface. Prevent earth, sand, or foreign material from filling the spaces between the stones when the plans require Type R stone riprap to be grouted. Wet the stones thoroughly after they are in place, fill the spaces between the stones with grout, and pack. Sweep the surface of the riprap with a stiff broom after grouting. 3.2.2 Type F. 3.2.2.1 Dry placement. Construct riprap as shown in Figure 2 on the stone riprap standard. Set the flat surface on a prepared horizontal earth bed, and overlap the underlying course to secure a lapped surface. Place the large stones first, roughly arranged in close contact. Fill the spaces between the large stones with suitably sized stones placed to leave the surface evenly stepped and conforming to the contour required. Place stone to drain water down the face of the slope. 3.2.2.2 Grouting. Construct riprap as shown in Figure 3 on the stone riprap standard. Size, shape, and lay large flat surface stones to produce an even surface with minimal voids. Place stones with the flat surface facing upward parallel to the slope. Place the largest stones near the base of the slope. Fill spaces between the larger stones with stones of suitable size, leaving the surface smooth, tight, and conforming to the contour required. Place the stones to create a plane surface with a variation no more than 6 inches in 10 feet from true plane. Provide the same degree of accuracy for warped and curved surfaces. Prevent earth, sand, or foreign material from filling the spaces between the stones. Wet the stones thoroughly after they are in place, fill the spaces between them with grout, and pack. Sweep the surface with a stiff broom after grouting. 3.2.2.3 Mortaring. Construct riprap as shown in Figure 2 on the stone riprap standard. Lap courses as described for dry placement. Wet the stones thoroughly before placing mortar. Bed the larger stones in fresh mortar as they are being placed and shove adjacent stones into contact with one another. Spread excess mortar forced out during placement of the stones uniformly over them to fill all voids completely. Point up all joints roughly either with flush joints or shallow, smooth rake joints as directed. 3.2.3 Common. Construct riprap as shown in Figure 4 on the stone riprap standard. Place stones on a bed excavated for the base course. Bed the base course of stone well into the ground with the edges in contact. Bed and place each succeeding course in even contact with the preceding course. Use spalls and small stones to fill any open joints and voids in the riprap. Ensure the finished surface presents an even, tight surface, true to the line and grades of the typical sections. Prevent earth, sand, or foreign material from filling the spaces between the stones when the plans require grouting. Common stone riprap. Wet the stones thoroughly after they are in place, fill the spaces between them with grout, and pack. Sweep the surface with a stiff broom after grouting. 3.2.4 Protection. Construct riprap as shown in Figure 5 on the stone riprap standard. Place riprap stone on the slopes within the limits shown on the plans. Place stone for riprap on the filter fabric to produce a reasonably well-graded mass of riprap with the minimum practicable percentage of voids. Construct the riprap to the lines and grades shown on the plans or staked in the field. A tolerance of +6 inches and 0 inches from the slope line and grades shown on the plans is allowed in the finished surface of the riprap. Place riprap to its full thickness in a single operation. Avoid displacing the filter fabric. Ensure the entire mass of stones in their final position is free from objectionable pockets of small stones and clusters of larger stones. Do not place riprap in layers, and do not place it by dumping it into chutes, dumping it from the top of the slope, pushing it from the top of the slope, or any method likely to cause segregation of the various sizes. Obtain the desired distribution of the various sizes of stones throughout the mass by selective loading of material at the quarry or other source or by other methods of placement that will produce the specified results. Rearrange individual stones by mechanical equipment or by hand if necessary to obtain a reasonably well-graded distribution of stone sizes. Use the bedding thickness shown and place stone for riprap on the bedding material to produce a reasonably well-graded mass of riprap with the minimum practicable percentage of voids if required on the plans. 3.3 Pneumatically placed concrete riprap, Class 1I. Meet item 431, pneumatically placed concrete. Provide reinforcement following the details on the plans and item 440, reinforcement for concrete. Support reinforcement with approved supports throughout placement of concrete. Give the surface a wood float finish or a gun finish as directed. Cure the riprap with membrane curing compound immediately after the finishing operation in accordance with item 420, concrete substructures. 3.4 Cement stabilized riprap. Follow the requirements of the plans and the provisions for concrete riprap except when reinforcement is not required. The engineer will approve the design and mixing of the cement stabilized riprap. 3.5 Special riprap. Construct special riprap according to the plans. For measurement. This item will be measured by the cubic yard of material complete in place. Volume will be computed on the basis of the measured area in place and the thickness and toe wall width shown on the plans. If required on the plans, the pay quantity of the bedding material for stone riprap for protection to be paid for will be measured by the cubic yard as computed from the measured area in place and the bedding thickness shown on the plans. 5. Payment. The work performed and materials furnished in accordance with this item and measured as provided under measurement will be paid for at the unit price bid for riprap of the type, thickness, and void filling technique, dry, grout, mortar, specified, as applicable. This price is full compensation for furnishing, hauling, and placing riprap and for filter fabric, expansion joint material, concrete, and reinforcing steel, grout and mortar, scales, test weights, equipment, labor, tools, and incidentals. Payment for excavation of toe wall trenches, for all necessary excavation below natural ground or bottom of excavated channel, and for shaping of slopes for riprap will be included in the unit price bid per cubic yard of riprap. When bedding is required for protection stone riprap, payment will be made at the unit price for bedding material of the thickness specified. This price is full compensation for furnishing, hauling, placing, and maintaining the bedding material until placement of the riprap cover is completed and accepted, excavation required for placement of bedding material, and equipment, scales, test weights, labor, tools, and incidentals. No payment will be made for excess thickness of bedding nor for material required to replace embankment material lost by rain wash, wind erosion, or otherwise.